All right, hello everybody. Welcome to our Saturday DIY class on Mason Bee houses. I am Laura with Enerstructa, and I am here today to guide you through this project. I decided on this one, I just decided to use some pieces of wood from trees we've been cutting down, and some dead wood lying around the property because we're working on getting our area that our septic's going to go in ready. So that just made more sense this time to use some round, I don't even know what you call these, rounds. Just like pieces of the tree logs. So yeah, you can do that. You can use, these are from oak trees, so you can use that kind of wood, or fir, or pine. You do not want to use any wood that would include cedar or pressure treated wood, because the mason bee that's like toxic to them, I think. I'm not a mason bee expert, so this is just what I've learned from research online, that you want to use a kind of wood that is not pressure treated or cedar. And those two, you can tell them the pressure treated has these little like dashes on it, usually these little slots that are kind of cut in there, and then the cedar, you can smell it. It smells like cedar. It has an aromatic smell. So yeah, so today I'm going to use some oak pieces. This is actually, I think, from part of the tree that was dead, so it's kind of already dried out a little bit. So I think that's probably a good part to use. I think you could use like wood from a tree just cut down as well. The other kind of wood you can use, like typical 4x4 or 4x6, some kind of chunkier piece of wood that you can get from a lumber store. I didn't have any of that floating around currently, so I just decided to use what I have. And maybe some of you are doing the same thing and using whatever wood you have at home. So yeah, really, these are, I don't know, I cut these maybe a foot long, which is really longer than they need to be. So I might even consider drilling holes from both sides. So mason bees, the holes, a little bit of technical stuff, and I'll go into what mason bees are and why they're important and why we're building houses for them before we get started. So this project's pretty simple. So you have your piece of wood, we already talked about that, and then you need a drill, and you need a drill bit that's 5/16 inch, because that's the size that the mason bees like. Sometimes we're going to do an insect house, I think next month, and so you can have different size of holes for different types of insects and whatnot. So the mason bees like 5/16, so that's all you need: 5/16 bit, a drill, and wood. And the holes, they say that you should drill them at least, or about 5 inches deep. I have done this in a 4x4 wood block, and that is deep enough for them, so I think I did. You don't want to go all the way through the backside, so, or you can, if you do, you can add another piece of wood on the back. So yeah, I think I maybe drilled in like 3 inches, so that actually, and it actually got used, so I wouldn't deter you from doing that. Since these are, at least about a foot long, I could do holes from each side, each end to the center, as long as they don't connect in the middle. And yeah, so holes, hole sizes. So if you're still getting your wood together, hey Mom's watching. Hi. So get your wood together, and yeah, we'll start drilling here soon. So I'll just talk about mason bees a little bit. From what I know about them, they are native pollinators, so they're good for pollinate your flowers and your vegetables and your fruits. So it's good to have them around. In more urban areas, so not really where I am, but in more urban areas, they have a harder time finding places to lay their eggs because they look for above ground cavities, and so when there's more buildings and that kind of thing going on in an area, then they have a harder time finding a place to lay their eggs. So that's part of why that's why we built the houses for them. So they're less of a house than more of like a sort of egg incubator in a way. And they're pretty cool. They generally won't sting. The males can if they're provoked. So it's a good project to have for kids in the garden. So they can watch them buzz around and lay their eggs. And they're kind of like a bluish color. So if you see blue, that's probably a mason bee. There's lots of different types of bees. I was actually listening to a webinar about bees recently from the Oregon Bee Project, and they talked about mason bees and bumblebees and honeybees and a few others I can't remember off the top of my head, but they did talk about how to, like, once you make your house, what to do with it. So generally mason bees start to emerge from the winter around, at least in our area, around this time, so late March through April. And so they're coming out of the ones that were laid got into adult form over the winter inside the cavities, and then they're starting to emerge and find other places to lay eggs. So you can look for them. If you already have some mason bee houses, they should be coming out, at least in Oregon, around this time. And they're looking for places to lay more eggs. And so they do this through about May, the end of May. And so what they do is they find places, cavities, to lay their eggs. And they're called mason bees because what they do is they lay like a little bead of pollen, and then they put the egg on top of that, and then they build a mud wall to separate that egg from the next one. So they lay an egg on pollen, because the pollen's the nutrients to help the egg grow. And there's a wall of mud, and then another egg, and then a wall of mud, another egg, wall of mud. So all in this tube of space that you can drill out. You can also make mason bee houses, ones that can be routed out or sawed out, so they kind of have like a little like U shape, and you can have like multiple layers of wood stacked together that you can screw together and then take apart and actually remove them before they emerge in the spring. So there's different ways to kind of clean them out. This style is it's not an easy way to clean out, so you can, after they emerge in the spring, you can clean them out with bleach, or you can just create new mason bee houses every year for this kind of style. But I like it because it helps you work on your drilling skills, and it's really fun to do with kids. So that's kind of the style we have chosen. So yeah, so they lay their eggs. I talked about how they do that, and then so if you have these houses and you see them, you'll see them filled, the holes filled up. I just drilled a partial hole so you can kind of see, but you'll see mud on the face of it once a cavity is completely full. And so once all of your holes get full, then you can bring that block of wood inside to like a garage or something like that throughout the summer, so that any parasites and kind of predators to the mason bee larvae that are growing inside there can't access that. And then you can just keep them inside throughout the winter and then put them out in March so that they can leave the nest. So like this style, you definitely will need to set the whole chunk of wood outside, but if you make there's another routed sort of version where you can actually disassemble it and take out the mason bees. And that's, if you buy them, that's how they'll come. They'll be in like little cocoons that you can release in your yard in the spring. Okay, I think that's it. So, cool. So we're just gonna start drilling. One tip, I don't have a piece of tape with me. I'm not even sure how long this drill bit's probably not even the full, barely 5 inches long. So you can just, if you have a piece of tape, you can measure out from the tip, measure into 5 inches and put tape there so you know how deep to drill in. But you can also, like on this one, it's short enough that I'm just going to put it in there a little bit and then tighten it. So I'm going to just drill the full depth of the bit, and I'm going to space my holes about 1 inch apart. And then you want to make sure when you're drilling that you're drilling straight in and out, so you're not intersecting the tunnels, which is a little bit harder to do on rough wood like this, but just maybe make a little bit more space in between them if you're using a log. So, okay, so it's going to drill. It's as easy as that. Sometimes happens. My chuck on this drill is old, and this whole drill is old. Sometimes it falls out. It doesn't have the grip anymore. But yeah, it's fun times. There's not many so far. Oh man. Okay, that's probably good for this one. Bam! Let's do the other one real quick. It's for fun. So that was a good example of making sure you hold on to your piece and so it doesn't move around on you. So if you have a helper, you can do that, or possibly clamp it down. Also, one thing about drilling, when I drill, I just have the drill set to forward the whole time. And so that's been easy enough for me to keep pulling it out. So I just have the trigger going the whole time. If you want, you can put it in forward to go in, and then switch it over to reverse to go out, especially if your wood is more dense. But I just tend to leave it on forward the whole time. And usually that's a button like this button. So you push it on one side and then push it on the other side. Okay. And sometimes too, if the wood's more dense in certain areas, you can do what I was just doing by drilling in a little bit, pulling it out to remove some of the wood, and then going down and just keep repeating that process. Done. So yeah, that's it. That's easy. And then what you're gonna want to do is put them outside somewhere. They need to be off the ground. I would say probably at least 5 feet or something like that, 4 or 5 feet. And then wait for the mason bees to come and just check an eye on them. It's kind of fun to watch because I did this when I lived in town, and it was cool to see the holes get all filled up. So I'm curious to see if we'll get some out here, out in the country. So yeah, it'll be a fun little experiment to do. So yeah, if you were building the other version, that with a block of wood and the shingle after you're done drilling your holes, then you're going to put the shingle on top with the nails and maybe a hanger on the back or some other way to fasten it to whatever vertical structure you have at your house. So if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out. And the instructions or how to do that is in the DIY guide. I just did this way again because this is what I had at home. So I just did it this way. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's good to put them in an area that has morning light and off the ground, in an area has some water. Also, you want them close to the plants that you need pollinated. And I think that's it. So there's lots of research and info online about mason bees. So if you want to learn more, I highly recommend you check that out, because I am not an expert, I just know a little bit. And yeah, next week we're going to be building hanging planters. So that project is also on my website, enerstructa.com. I have a link to it on my Facebook page. So feel free to check that out and get materials ready to go for next week. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye.